Alzheimer's is a very complex disease, and it's very hard to find a cure because there's a lot of things we still don't really know.
We are living longer, and understanding this disease, such as Alzheimer's disease, that is related to age, is very critical because it will be important for all of us. And as devastating that Alzheimer's disease is, it's very critical to understand how it works and how we can prevent that.
So for a healthy functioning brain, you need to have all your neurons to be healthy. With Alzheimer's disease, you've got first the protein called amyloid, which starts to accumulate in your brain. Once it reaches a certain threshold, what we believe is that the tau protein starts to accumulate. Those tau proteins are very toxic to the neurons, and they basically start to kill them off, which basically lead to cognitive decline or loss of memory. And at that stage, that's usually when the disease is being diagnosed.
In Alzheimer's disease research, one of the biomarkers is the thickness of the brain cortex. Brain cortex is a thin layer of grey matter that sits on the top of white matter and is used for thinking and all cognitive functions. As we're getting old, cortex is getting thinner and thinner due to the neurodegeneration, and it's shrinking, which is a part of the normal aging process. Up until now, we could not measure it accurately because we can measure it only once the person dies. And even then, these measurements are not very accurate because our brain starts to shrink as soon as we die.
For different purposes of Alzheimer's disease, early detection or distinguishing risk factors for the disease, we need to have a lot of data. So one of my research aims these days is to provide a huge data set for artificial intelligence. When I think of AI, I think of my 16 months old baby girl that she's just learning about the word. A few days ago, I realized that she's pointing to an elephant on her mat, calling it a dog. And it reminded me of AI and the importance of data sets. This little girl, she has not seen many elephants. So in her brain, every animal with ears on their head, she calls a dog. And AI is the same.
In our research, we used generative AI in order to create fake brain MRI images with accurate cortical thickness measurements.
My research is all about image analysis, so image quantification, and how to use software and algorithm to automate the extraction of information, the quantification of information from images. What we developed through the use of machine learning is a software that allows to do that spatial PET quantification without the need of an expensive MRI, which basically reduces the burden on the health system and allow to streamline the quantification of the PET images, making it more efficient.
The advantage of using AI in Alzheimer's disease research is to simulate brain MRIs with different brain conditions, which may not be as easy to acquire in reality. So this fake MRIs gives us the ground truth, which enables us to evaluate different cortical thickness measurement methods in different brain regions and pick up the right tool for the job.
So our current hypothesis is that amyloid will accumulate first and lead to tau accumulation. If you can remove amyloid before tau starts accumulating, you would basically remove the protein that kills the neurons and hopefully be able to prevent Alzheimer's. Therefore, doing early detection and very early treatment is probably a key to find a cure.
If we provide artificial intelligence with enough data, it can make predictions very accurate, much more accurate than human beings can do. And we already have large data sets in Australia, in US. And what I did is to create an algorithm that harmonize and align these data sets together. As a result, we created the largest Alzheimer's data set around the world that can help us to realize and learn a lot about the disease.
Accurate cortical thickness measurements are important. The first example would be in tracking the progression of Alzheimer's disease in patients. The second reason is that we can test the efficacy of drugs in clinical trials aimed for combating Alzheimer's disease.
So we have done the hard work. And the next phase is to use this data set to, for example, look at genes and how they may affect the progress or onset of the disease.
Some of the work we also currently undertaking is looking at blood tests And we're actually using the PET quantification that is obtained from our software to evaluate how robust those blood tests are. And the very strong impact of that research will be once we can find some very robust and very sensitive blood tests, because then you're going to be able to deploy those everywhere in memory clinics and be able to get early diagnosis without having a very expensive PET scan.
It is absolutely incredible to understand the brain and these diseases using the data set that we have, because it can give us details about us human beings that we were not able to see and understand before.
What is my favorite brain fact?
I do like the finding that when we sleep, our brain washes itself. So basically your neuron starts to get out of the way, and then all the fluid removes all the nasty proteins or things that were accumulated during the days. And some people actually think that disruption of sleep could basically lead to an impairment of that cleaning process, which could actually lead to the buildup of those proteins leading to Alzheimer's. So this is also a very exciting area of research. So yes, I'm not a doctor, but people should really get some sleep.
Brains look like chestnut, right? I like chestnuts. No chestnuts, what's the...
Walnut.
Walnut, yeah.
Did you know that human brain has inspired one of the most popular artificial intelligence algorithms? This is called neural network. So next time that you admire artificial intelligence, remember that it has been inspired by human brain structure.